Volume 7 of RWBY is finally here, and Episode 1 certainly doesn't disappoint. I'm gonna say spoiler warning for those who haven't seen the episode just yet, as I am not going to be showing the episode or any clips from it in this video, simply images from the episode and analyzing the episode overall. I will leave a link down in the description below so you guys can go to Rooster Teeth first and watch the episode there and support the series that we all love. Now, without further ado, let's get into the episode. We start off immediately where Volume 6 ended, arriving at Atlas. We get a little bit of ominous music as we get a short montage of the military ships that are floating above Atlas. Everyone knows that the situation isn't exactly right and something seems to be off, but, you know, they made it to Atlas. They could just land and get some questions answered, right? Well, not so much. Over the radio, of course, Manta 5-1, you're cleared for landing. A security team will be there to greet you. Weiss aptly points out that there's no way that a security team would let a group arrive with a stolen ship meet with Ironwood. There's no way that that would happen, and the security team might also recognize Weiss and ship her back to her father. So that's not the best option. So, the other option is Winter. So Weiss goes off to try to call Winter, asking Maria to, let's veer away from the military and try to avoid that. Which makes sense. So they start heading towards Mantle. And we get another couple images of Mantle, similarly to what we saw in the trailer. And then we see Ironwood on one of the big screens broadcasting to the public. I'm getting a kind of 1984 feel here where the government seems to be preaching to the public, oh, we have everything under control, everything's going to be all right. Ironwood is saying, some would call these uncertain times, but I can tell you one thing that is certain. Atlas will remain strong, and it will remain safe. That is my promise to you. Ironwood is making some pretty hefty promises, and you know, Crow is realizing what exactly have you been doing? As the ship is flying through Atlas, we see military technology roaming the streets. We see the Atlesian Knights, as we saw in the trailer, roaming the streets, and other technology, like a little floating drone, it seems like, that people aren't too happy about. We see a child throwing a rock at it and then jumping away scared. So people are not fond of the military occupying the city in the way that they are. Now Weiss obviously is pointing out this isn't right. None of this seems right. But Winter will be able to get them to Ironwood. However, on another broadcast, we see Winter Schnee, that the words that she says, we see one clear audible sentence that if you are disobeying Atlas military personnel is a punishable offense. Which, you know, technically they're already doing by avoiding going to where they're being driven to land, military ship and all, arriving in Atlas. So that's causing some problems, and Crow tends to point out, you know, maybe talking to Winter isn't the best idea. Weiss isn't able to get through to Winter's phone, so maybe this is a live broadcast and she's just busy, which, I mean, even being a high-ranking member of the military, she's probably busy quite often, especially with the military being as active as it is. And Crow also points out, I'm not even sure we should be talking to Ironwood until we figure out what is happening with Mantle. Meanwhile, over the radio, they're still getting prompts to, you know, Manta 5-1, you've strayed from your path. What the hell's going on? Etc. They shut that down and decide to go into the city, get lost in Mantle so that the military won't find them. Maria happens to know someone that can help on both fronts, figure out what's happening in Mantle and also get in contact with Ironwood. So they head to Mantle and are going to head to meet this person that Maria knows. Now we get to see a little bit more of the streets of Mantle. They walk out of a back alley, it seems, so I'm curious where exactly they parked the ship and how it was just inconspicuous that an Atlas military ship landed in the middle of Mantle, and wondering how that exactly went, but I doubt we'll ever find out. So we see a little bit more of the city. We see someone putting up posters that we will eventually see everywhere throughout the city, who has this mysterious person on it. And it says, As far as we can tell, Hill is here. I'm guessing Hill is the person, or maybe there's another letter in front of that. I don't know. Maybe it's an S for shill or something like that. I'm guessing it's just Hill, though, that this person is some more propaganda-esque, and we see a little bit of a news panel. So instead of having newspapers that are handed out, there's just a screen that's popped up where we see all of the news on there. And there's some interesting ones. Of course, one about the embargo. Another about a news reporter found slain. So there's either murders going on in the city, because most likely Grimm, if they attacked people, they would destroy the body, I think? Eat the body or something, but a news reporter has been found slain. And there's also one about the outer wall being breached, or the outer wall broken. So that's probably what's letting in some of the Grimm and causing some of the problems. And then we also see this same person that we saw in the posters as an election being imminent, that there is a Mantle hero versus an Atlas tycoon. Now, I don't think military is an elected position, but maybe as a member of the council, they're trying to get someone elected from Mantle, which is this person, this hero, who is most likely going to be a relevant character throughout the volume, especially since their face is plastered everywhere that we've seen. So yeah, this is going to be someone that I'm looking forward to seeing more from, and seeing how exactly Mantle politics interact with Atlas, so we'll see how it goes from there. But we don't really see much more in the way of the actual news that's going on in Mantle and in Atlas. It's also worthwhile to point out that Tycoon is like a wealthy individual, so it could be that this person is going up against Jacques Schnee in something to do with the dust embargo or the dust mining industry, something along those lines, and again, interested to see where that heads. Now, as they're walking towards wherever Maria is leading them, we see some graffiti on the wall that says, "Show your teeth." And they focus on this a little bit as they're walking by, and the camera centers in on it. So I feel like this is going to be a little bit of a hint that this is relevant. Since it says, "Show your teeth," and, you know, bearing fangs, showing teeth is more of an animalistic trait, I'm guessing that this might mean there's some underground Faunus movement or rebellion building against the upper echelon of Mantle, or in this case, Atlas, that there's going to be some conflict involved with that, as we already highly anticipated. And also potentially the involvement of Tyrion, though in his case it wouldn't be more teeth, it would be the poisoned tail. At this point, we see that little drone that the children were throwing rocks at, or at least another one of the drones, come up to Yang. It seems a little bit curious, and snaps a picture of Yang. And, you know, you don't want to surprise Yang, because she boots that thing right into the middle of the road, and then it's taken out by a truck. So that little drone, yeah, it's no more. And then they say, well, let's maybe move a little bit faster. Maria reminds us that Mantle had just lost a war, lost the Great War, and that Atlas is supposed to be, you know, a new light. What's more of a sign to light one's way than being in the clouds? Except if you're the ones looking up at it, you're the ones in its shadow. And then we see a truck bringing a whole bunch of miners, probably from the mines, considering they're covered in what looks like oil, dirt, and soot. And that's when Blake says, which we heard from the trailer, this place just seems awful. And then there's someone sitting on a doorstep that seems to have one of Crow's old habits, hopefully old habits, that he's hammered out of his mind, and gets a little bit aggravated at that comment, saying, "Atlas is the greatest kingdom in the world." His buddy sitting on the step is just like, yeah, the dust embargo is kind of giving us some, but it'll pass. The dust embargo will pass, and it's creating a little bit of a scene. And Blake, in an effort to stop that, you know, says, "We're sorry that I didn't mean to offend you by this comment. I'm sorry that I made it," etc. And oh boy, that guy decides to say something not so nice. You know, it's because a stupid Faunus like you, all the words that he gets out before he is sent flying by Weiss. Beautiful. Happy to see Monochrome getting their moment. And the other guy who's sitting on the doorstep after his buddy's thrown into a dumpster recognizes the glyph as he was looking straight at the ground when it appeared. And he says, like, wait, you are, and, you know, he's drunk, so as he's running after them, he trips, falls, but we zoom up as he's looking up at an image of Winter. So he recognized Weiss as a member of the Schnee family. That information he might try to sell to someone, or he didn't seem to recognize it with malicious intent, so maybe we'll see this guy again. Maybe he has some connection to an underground movement, or I don't know exactly what his connection would be, but I feel like we might see this guy again, even if it's just a fleeting moment where someone says, oh yeah, this guy said he saw you, or whatever it may be. Now, we arrive, actually, at the place that Maria was taking everyone to, and we see a whole lot more posters of this person, this elected, or this person who's going to be participating in an election that is imminent, apparently. And I believe the posters are saying protect Mantle and things like that. So this person is advocating for Mantle, is going to be a protector of Mantle, an advocate of Mantle in general, and we will see them most likely throughout the rest of the volume, with as much as we've been seeing the propaganda of them so far. Now, we go into this office, or at least when they arrive at the office, they see someone walk out, a Faunus, cute little Faunus with what I think is like panda ears or tanuki ears or something, just very cute Faunus, and she's got a prosthetic arm. And the guy yells out, you know, make sure not to do any heavy lifting. We walk in and we meet Dr. Pietro, who has known Maria and is responsible for her optical implants, and she meets with them every 10 years, etc. We know all this. And Dr. Pietro is a highly acclaimed scientist, apparently. He's a very good inventor, considering the wheelchair he's in is not a wheelchair, it's a walking chair, has 4 legs and can walk around. And Maria explains that he spends his time in Mantle, helping out the people and having a little fun, when he's not up in the clouds building the future alongside Ironwood. He is one of the greatest minds in Atlas. Very convenient that Maria knows him. And so they start asking a couple questions like, what's happening in Mantle? And he explains the fall of Beacon. Something happened to Ironwood over there. He came back a changed man. It wasn't just the Grimm, but someone dismantled Atlas security codes, made it their plaything, made Atlas look like traitors to some and fools to others. And that really got in his head, because likely this person to be able to do that is either a genius or someone from Atlas. And the Doctor and Ironwood think it's both. And of course, we know who that is, that being Watts. So obviously, no one has any idea in Atlas who Watts is. Ironwood has no idea. Dr. Pietro, who's apparently a highly acclaimed scientist in Atlas, has no idea. So again, this is more evidence, I'm gonna say, that since no one has any idea who Watts is, there is one person who does know his connection to Salem, that being Raven. And you know, I think Raven's going to come back either the end of this volume or the beginning of next one, because someone is going to have to point out Watts being on Salem's side, because he's never going to reveal it himself. So unless Tyrion makes a slip up, I don't think anyone's going to find out, and he's just going to be able to manipulate things behind this scene. However, after this explanation, you know, everyone starts thinking, Atlas isn't as safe as we thought. Did we come all this way for nothing? Weiss then pipes up and says, well, what about Ironwood? What about the schools? What about Winter Schnee? What has she been up to? And as he's about to start explaining, or no, she asks, what about the council and what about Winter Schnee? And the council is terrified right now. Apparently we'll just do anything Ironwood says. Ironwood already has 2 seats on the council, but since they're so terrified, you know, they'll just listen to him outright. And hence why the embargo was so easy to put in place, because Jacques Schnee, who I think holds 1 seat, can get completely outvoted. Now, before Pietro goes into anything else, he just, wait, you're Weiss Schnee. And everyone's taken aback by that. You know, just a hint, if you're going to your hometown and you don't want to be recognized, and your father is a member of this highly successful business, probably one of the pillars of Atlas, that has a very recognizable symbol, maybe you shouldn't wear it on the back of your clothing. Maybe just change the shawl or cover it with a cloak or the scarf that she was wearing back in Volume 6 or something to cover that symbol, because that's very recognizable. Anyways, Yang tries to step in, what were you going to say about Mantle? And then Pietro recognizes her arm, saying that you painted it. So Pietro was actually responsible for Yang's arm. He seems to be the one responsible for all of the prosthetics that we see. At least maybe the developer of them. That maybe Ironwood special requested Pietro to make this for Yang, and then, he worked on Maria's eyes, we saw him work on the other Faunus's prosthetic, etc. And then RWBY tries to step in and is like, what do you mean? And he recognizes all of Team RWBY. And if you're a type of person that has a lot of feels about the series and likes having feels about the series, I recommend watching the episode itself, at least from here on, because it really hit my heartstrings quite a bit. He recognizes Team RWBY, and RWBY's of course confused with this, like, how exactly do you know? And he says, "My daughter has told me all about you." And before he can finish saying what he wants to, the sirens start sounding and everyone has to run outside to deal with the Grimm attack. And, he tries to stop them, which makes sense later on, but they go out and fight the Grimm. Similar to what we saw in the trailer, it's that exact same fight, and the little preview that we saw yesterday at the end of the live stream, and I believe at New York Comic Con they gave that little extra clip as well, which is just the entire fight between the Saber Grimm and showing off everyone's fighting styles, everything like that. It's a really good fight. Make sure to check it out. But the clip didn't show us the entire fight. At the end of the fight, just as a Saber is about to jump Blake, the rest of the Sabers are taken out by green lasers. And we see something fly up in the sky. Not just a person, not just a plane, but it is Penny. She is back in the series, and she has a brand new design. And it's honestly really nice to see her back. The doctor shows up and says, "Penny, why don't you say hi to your friends?" And it was really nice to see Penny come back. She is exactly the same Penny that we saw back in Volume 1, 2, and 3 with, when Amity Arena, which is the arena that the Vital Festival was taking place in, it is a structure from Atlas. So it eventually returned to Atlas. Since Penny's body was there, they were able to retrieve her core from it when it returned, and she was able to be built exactly as new. Unfortunately, they don't get much time to reconnect, as Penny is now the defender of Mantle and is called away on another Grimm attack. So everyone is left with a lot of questions, and fortunately enough, Pietro does say he has a lot of answers. But no one's going to get a chance to do that, as everyone who participated in the fight, so Maria and Pietro are okay, but everyone else gets restrained, as we saw in the trailer, and we are introduced to some new characters. The Atlas Ace Operatives, or Ace Ops for short. Pietro is a bit confused as to why they are in Mantle, as, they are the Ace Ops of Atlas. They are supposed to be in Atlas. But they explain that they got word of an unauthorized ship making an unauthorized landing and unauthorized use of weapons by unlicensed huntsmen. So, little bit suspicious there. I understand the unauthorized ship and landing because there was radar and there was radio communication between the ship and Atlas, which didn't get responded to. So yeah, I get that. But as for the unauthorized use of weapons, that literally happened like 30 seconds ago. So that part I call bullshit on, because unless they were already there watching and hunting them, there's no way they could have known about it that quickly. The little drone that took a picture of Yang, wouldn't have conveyed that, oh, this person in about 15 minutes is going to be using her weapons unauthorized. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. Not to mention, Crow even points out, hey, I'm a licensed huntsman. I guess even licensed huntsmen are still unauthorized to use weapons in Mantle, even though they're defending themselves from Grimm. So apparently, according to the Ace operatives and Atlas law, you can't use weapons to defend yourself from the beings that have been terrorizing the human race since the very beginning of their existence. Makes a lot of sense. But anyways, the Atlas Ops take all of their weapons and the relic as well, which we saw in the trailer. So, as most people correctly assumed, it was Atlas personnel who took the relic. Everyone is tossed into a truck and are going to be shipped off to Atlas, where apparently they will get their chance to speak, hopefully to Ironwood, and hopefully the Ace Ops will listen to them and not be, you know, the arrogant officers that are often seen in shows when they're interrogating people and things of that sort. So we'll see how that goes. But this is where the episode ends off, so we will have to wait until next week to see more. Now, there is quite a bit that we can gain from this episode, a hint that of things to come. The show your teeth, I definitely think, is indicative of a Faunus movement that is coming, or a rebellion that is going to happen this volume. And also the war is going to interfere with that between Ironwood and Salem, etc. Not to mention, no one having any idea of Watts's involvement in taking over Atlas technology and involvement with Salem. In my mind, fully warrants Raven's return to point that out. You know, I really hope that happens. Made an entire theory video on it, etc. That's something that I'm expecting. Now, next episode, we are probably going to get a little bit more of what's happening in Atlas with our heroes, but there are some other storylines that need to be touched on as well. Namely, Tyrion and Watts. What are they up to? What about Salem? Neo and Cinder are also on their way. It would make sense that we get a little bit of those two next episode or by episode 3, and see what exactly their plans are in Atlas, whether they've already located Team RWBY and are just biding their time, waiting for an opportunity, etc. You know, maybe seeing if they're in touch with the underground spider network there, if that exists, and see how that progresses. I'm really interested to see what this new election is going to be about, and this person that seems to be what Mantle is rallying behind. I want to see how this person interacts with the upper echelon of Atlas, how they interact with Ironwood, how they interact with Jacques Schnee, if that is the Atlesian person that they are going to be interacting with, that the election is going to take place of. I don't know exactly what election is going to be. I feel like the only election that's going to happen is members of the council, the Atlesian governing council, so we'll see how that all turns out. And we all really need to see more of Penny, who is now the official defender of Mantle, which is pretty interesting. She's responsible for defending the entire city, which kind of makes Yang's comment kind of hurtful when she said, you know, the Grimm attack was happening and the military was trying to do something about it, not being very effective, and Yang commented, you know, sounds about right for the Atlas military. Well, Penny's trying her best. She's one person. She's trying to get across this entire city to defend from every Grimm attack, and apparently the outer wall's damaged, so Grimm are just getting in. And with the outer wall being damaged, I'm guessing Atlas isn't too keen on spending their own resources to help Mantle out. There's also this murderer that's apparently on the loose, with this missing journalist or news person found slain. That slain implies not a Grimm. If it was a Grimm, that would have said just killed by Grimm or whatever. I feel like slain is that there's a person who was killed by another person. Maybe Tyrion's responsible for that, actually. I wouldn't be surprised. He has the means to do so. The personality, like, he would greatly enjoy just taking out people. Not to mention, he would probably like torturing someone to get information out of this journalist, because journalists and people connected with the news are often informed and have information, etc. So there's a lot that is going on in Atlas, and we will find out more. Now, these also, with the Ace Ops, they are eventually going to start fighting alongside Team RWBY and our heroes, because we saw them in the trailer. They were fighting alongside them when they were fighting the Ice Petrogigas. I believe they were also with them, or a couple members were with them in the tunnels. So these are going to be maybe new main characters for the arc of Atlas. I don't know how much of a role Maria is going to play, because I don't think she can really mentor RWBY that much more in the Silver Eyes. She might just be kind of sticking with Pietro and everything along that. Now, last thing I want to mention, I hope that Pietro survives and lives the rest of his life in happiness and can just have fun and invent and do what he wants to do. Because I have a feeling, a sinking feeling in my gut, that when all hell breaks loose in Atlas, because it will, with the Faunus revolt that I think is going to happen, not to mention Salem's Grimm invasion, she's going to bring over all of her winged bearing gulls and everything of that sort, which she's probably going to also get any other Grimm in the vicinity of Atlas to start attacking as well, creating panic, drawing more Grimm. It's going to be complete chaos, and Mantle is going to get the brunt of it since it's on the ground. Now, of course, Atlas itself might drop from the sky, and etc. But I just hope that Penny's father can survive and live and just be happy. Pietro deserves that much. He's such a nice old man. He needs... I want happiness for him. I want happiness for, like, you know, all of our heroes and everything, but the way the RWBY story is going, I'd settle for, at least right now in Atlas, happiness for this man. And let me know what you guys think down in the comments below about this first episode, the events that happened in it. What do you guys think about my ideas for the different little hints that we've seen throughout? Do you guys have any other unique ideas of your own? I would really like to hear what you guys think, or I guess see, since it'll be in the comments below. But let me know, are you happy to see Penny back? I know a lot of us, myself included, didn't really expect Penny to come back exactly the same. I'd always said if they were able to retrieve Penny's core, it's definitely possible. But, you know, I think all of us forgot that Amity Coliseum was Atlas technology, and that they could just recall it to Atlas. Though it's weird because Watts took control of all Atlas technology, the Atlesian Knights, the ships, everything, back in Volume 3 in the Fall of Beacon. Amity Arena was untouched, which seems odd to me. If... I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I look forward to hearing about that. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be doing reviews of every RWBY episode that comes out, this volume, next volume, and as long as RWBY is going on. Hopefully the day the episode airs on Rooster Teeth first, I won't be posting any episodes or like any video of the episode itself, just images, just analysis, you know, support the official release. Again, use the link down below, go to Rooster Teeth first, and support this series that we all love. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.